The stress paradox, why your calm mind is built in chaos, not peace.
Here's something nobody tells you about staying calm under pressure. Practicing meditation when you're already peaceful is like learning to swim on your living room floor. Sure, you can go through the motions, but the moment a real wave hits, you're going under. I spent years wondering why my daily meditation practice disappeared the second my boss called an emergency meeting or my partner started a difficult conversation. Then I discovered something that completely changed how I approach stress management. The ancient practitioners weren't sitting in temples avoiding stress. They were deliberately exposing themselves to controlled discomfort to build what psychologists now call stress inoculation. Today, I'm going to show you why everything you've been taught about staying calm is backwards, and more importantly, how to actually build unshakable peace by strategically embracing the chaos you've been trying to avoid.
The fatal flaw in traditional calm practices.
Let's start by addressing the elephant in the room. Most stress management advice follows a predictable pattern. Remove yourself from stressful situations, create a peaceful environment, practice mindfulness in quiet moments, then hope those skills transfer when things get difficult. But here's the problem with this approach. It's building your emotional immune system in a sterile laboratory. When you only practice calmness in calm environments, you're training your nervous system to associate peace with the absence of challenge, not the presence of skill. Think about it this way. If you wanted to become a confident public speaker, would you practice by talking to yourself in an empty room for years, then suddenly step onto a stage in front of hundreds of people? Of course not. Yet this is exactly what we do with emotional resilience. We meditate in our bedrooms at dawn, breathe deeply in yoga classes, and journal in coffee shops, then wonder why these practices evaporate when our teenager slams a door, a project fails, or we receive devastating news. The gap between practice and application isn't a personal failure. It's a design flaw in how we've been taught to build inner peace.
Understanding the stress adaptation principle.
Now, let me introduce you to a concept that's going to reframe everything: progressive stress exposure. This is how elite athletes, military special forces, and emergency room doctors maintain clarity under pressure. They don't avoid stress during training, they systematically increase it. A fighter pilot doesn't learn to stay calm by sitting in a simulator with perfect conditions. They practice with system failures, hostile scenarios, and time pressure until their calm response becomes automatic precisely when conditions are chaotic. Your nervous system works the same way. When you deliberately practice calming techniques while experiencing mild to moderate stress, you're teaching your body that it can regulate itself even when conditions aren't ideal. This is completely different from hoping your morning meditation will somehow transfer to your afternoon crisis. Here's how you can start applying this principle immediately. Begin with low-stakes stressors you can control. Set a timer for 2 minutes and hold an ice cube in your hand while practicing slow breathing. Your heart rate will increase, discomfort will build, but you're teaching your system that you can maintain regulation despite physical stress signals. Or practice a difficult conversation with a friend who agrees to challenge you while you focus on staying grounded. The key is that you're building the neural pathway between "I feel stress" signals and "I can still choose my response" in real time, not just in theory.
The 7-layer stress inoculation system.
Let me walk you through a practical framework for building genuine stress resilience, layer by layer. Layer 1 is physiological anchoring. This is where breath work comes in, but not the way you've been taught. Instead of only breathing deeply when you're already calm, practice deliberately shifting your breath pattern when you're experiencing mild physical discomfort. Do 20 push-ups, then immediately practice slowing your breath while your heart is still racing. You're teaching your body that regulation is possible even when your system is activated. Layer 2 is cognitive reframing under pressure. Most people practice positive thinking when they're in a good mood, which is useless. Instead, deliberately recall a mildly stressful memory. Let yourself feel the discomfort, then practice reframing it while the emotion is present. This builds the actual skill of shifting perspective when you need it, not just when it's easy. Layer 3 involves exposure to uncertainty. We avoid not knowing what's going to happen, but uncertainty is the root of most anxiety. Practice making small decisions without complete information, sitting with the discomfort of not knowing how things will turn out. Start with which route to drive home, then gradually increase the stakes. Layer 4 is interpersonal stress inoculation. Have someone you trust give you constructive criticism while you practice staying open and curious rather than defensive. This is gold for building resilience because so much of our stress comes from relationships.
Layer 5 is time pressure training. Give yourself challenging tasks with tight deadlines while practicing staying methodical rather than frantic. Layer 6 involves physical discomfort tolerance, not to build toughness, but to prove to yourself that discomfort is temporary and manageable. Finally, Layer 7 is integrating these skills through progressive real-world challenges. Start taking on slightly more difficult situations than you're comfortable with, using your developed skills in increasingly authentic contexts. The maintenance protocol and long-term integration. Here's what nobody tells you about building stress resilience. It's not a destination, it's a practice that requires ongoing calibration. Your nervous system adapts to the level of challenge you expose it to, which means if you stop progressively challenging yourself, you'll lose the capacity you built. This doesn't mean you need to live in constant stress. That's called chronic stress, and it's destructive. Instead, you need what I call strategic discomfort. Regular, intentional, time-limited exposure to challenging situations that keep your stress response system flexible and responsive rather than rigid and reactive. Create a weekly practice where you deliberately step into one situation that's outside your comfort zone. Have the conversation you've been avoiding. Take the cold shower you've been dreading. Sit with the uncertainty you've been trying to resolve. The magic happens when you pair these exposures with your regulation techniques. You're literally rewiring the association between challenge and collapse into an association between challenge and capability. And here's the beautiful paradox. As you build this capacity, you'll find that what once felt overwhelming now feels manageable, not because the situation's changed, but because you developed a fundamentally different relationship with discomfort itself.
The goal isn't to eliminate your stress response. That response exists to protect you. The goal is to become someone who can feel the stress signals, acknowledge them, and still choose how you respond. That's not calmness despite chaos. That's calmness because you've practiced within chaos enough times that your nervous system has learned, we've been here before, we know what to do, and we'll be okay on the other side. Start building that capacity today, one small, controlled challenge at a time, and watch how your relationship with stress transforms completely.